The slap echoed through El Capitan Theatre's grand lobby before Ariana even registered the pain. She stumbled backward into the velvet rope barrier, Christmas ornaments from the decorative tree crashing around her as shocked gasps rippled through the holiday crowd. Ariana looked up from where she'd fallen, her cheek burning, at the man towering over her with that same entitled sneer she remembered from 3 years ago. Derek. Still playing dress-up, I see, he spat. Pathetic. He had no idea who she was anymore. No idea the broken woman he'd abandoned, the one who'd lost everything supporting his worthless dreams, who'd rebuilt herself from nothing, was gone. No idea about the massive diamond hidden beneath her glove, the penthouse in Beverly Hills, or the black card with no limit. And Derek definitely had no idea about the man whose hand now rested protectively on her shoulder. Park Ji-hoon. Her husband. Korea's most powerful tech billionaire. Welcome to a world where stories breathe. As you settle in, I wonder, where are you watching from tonight? By the glow of the Christmas tree, perhaps? If these tales find a home with you, consider subscribing. It's the most heartfelt gift a storyteller could receive this season. The Christmas lights strung across El Capitan's vaulted ceiling cast a golden glow over Ariana's face as she laughed, really laughed, for what felt like the first time in years. Park watched her with that quiet intensity he reserved only for her, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm. I love the way Christmas makes you smile, he whispered, brushing a stray curl from her cheek. Ariana's heart swelled. 3 years ago, she'd believed she'd never feel safe again. Never trust again. Never allow herself the luxury of joy without waiting for it to be stolen. But here, in this moment, with Park's steady presence beside her and the orchestra's warm-up notes floating through the theater, she felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Peace. They moved toward the entrance, weaving through families in matching pajamas and couples stealing kisses beneath mistletoe. Ariana's steps slowed as the crowd thickened. Her breath caught, just for a second, and her grip on Park's hand tightened unconsciously. He noticed immediately. You okay? She nodded, forcing her shoulders to relax. Just a lot of people. It was a half-truth. Crowds still made her anxious sometimes, triggered memories of the days when she'd walk through busy streets feeling invisible, worthless, alone. When panic attacks would hit in grocery stores because she couldn't afford food. When shame followed her like a shadow. Park squeezed her hand. We can leave if... No. Ariana lifted her chin, determination flickering in her eyes. I'm not that person anymore. I won't let fear win. Pride flickered across Park's face. That's my wife. They found their seats in the orchestra section, premium, center view. Ariana settled into the plush velvet, exhaling slowly as the theater's warmth embraced her. Around them, children giggled, programs rustled, and somewhere a violin tuned its strings. Normal. Beautiful. Safe. She was safe now. Wasn't she? Excuse me, sorry, just need to get through. The voice came from behind them, casual and polite enough that Ariana didn't register it at first. Just another patron finding their seat. She glanced at her program, reading about the evening's performance. Tchaikovsky, Handel, Classic Christmas. Well. Ariana Lawson. The name wasn't spoken. It was pronounced like a verdict. Ariana's blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. God help her, she knew that voice. It haunted her worst nights, echoed in her moments of doubt, lived in the scars he'd left across her soul. She turned slowly, her body moving on autopilot even as her mind screamed at her to run. Derek stood 3 rows back, one hand casually resting on the seat in front of him, his expression carved from pure contempt. He looked good, designer suit, expensive watch, the kind of surface polish that hid rot underneath. His date, a young woman who couldn't have been older than 23, clung to his arm with the same naive adoration Ariana once carried. Derek. His name tasted like ash in her mouth. His smile was cruel. Didn't expect to see you here. This place has standards. He said it loud enough for the people around them to hear, his tone dripping with mockery. Or did you finally find another man stupid enough to pay your way? Ariana felt Park go rigid beside her, but she held up one hand, a silent plea for him to wait. She could handle this. She had to prove she could handle this. "I'm here with my husband," she said quietly, trying to keep her voice steady. "Please leave us alone." Derek's laugh cut through the theater's gentle hum like broken glass. "Husband? You?" He leaned forward, and Ariana hated how her body instinctively recoiled. "Let me guess. Found some desperate fool who doesn't know what you really are yet? How long before you bleed him dry like you tried to do to me?" The words hit like physical blows. Not because they were true, God, they were so far from true, but because they dragged her back. Back to the woman who'd believed his lies. Back to the nights she'd apologized for needing food. Back to the version of herself who thought she deserved abandonment. "That's enough." Ariana stood, her legs shaking but her voice firm. "You don't get to speak to me like that anymore. I'm not. You're not what?" Derek stepped closer, descending the aisle with predatory ease. "You're not the pathetic girl who used to beg me to stay. Who cried on her knees promising she'd be better." His voice rose, theatrical and deliberately humiliating. "You're not the broke bitch who couldn't even keep a roof over her head without my help." Tears burned behind Ariana's eyes, not from his words, but from the memories they excavated. The nights she'd gone hungry. The morning she'd woken up on her friend's couch and wanted to die. The shame that had nearly destroyed her. People were staring now. Whispers rippled outward like disease. "Stop," she whispered, hating how small her voice sounded. "Make me," Derek sneered. "Oh wait, you can't. You never could. That's why I left. You were always weak. Always." Ariana lifted her chin, forcing herself to meet his eyes. "I survived you. That makes me stronger than you'll ever be." For one second, one crystalline, terrible second, something shifted in Derek's expression. The mockery cracked, revealing the ugly truth beneath. He couldn't stand seeing her stand tall. Couldn't tolerate her dignity. Couldn't stomach the fact that she'd escaped his gravity. His hand moved before Ariana could process what was happening. The slap cracked across her face with enough force to snap her head sideways. The theater went silent. Not the hush of anticipation before a performance. The silence of collective shock, of breath held, of witnessing something that crossed an unforgivable line. Ariana stumbled, her vision blurring. Strong arms caught her before she could fall. Park, moving with lethal speed, his body a shield between her and Derek. But it wasn't the physical pain that broke her. It was the feeling. The horrible, familiar feeling of being powerless again. Small again. Worthless again. The tears came before she could stop them, hot and shameful against her burning cheek. Not because of the slap, she'd survived worse, but because for one terrifying moment she felt herself sliding backward into the girl she used to be. The one who believed she deserved this. The one who thought she'd never be enough. "Please," Ariana whispered against Park's chest, her voice cracking. "Please don't let me fall back into who I was." Park's arms tightened around her, and when he pressed his forehead to hers, his voice, always so controlled, so measured, cracked for the first time since she'd known him. "I won't let the world hurt you again." It was a promise. It was a threat. And Derek had no idea what he'd just unleashed. Ariana couldn't breathe. Her lungs refused to work, her chest constricting tighter and tighter until the theater's golden lights blurred into shapeless halos. The concerned faces surrounding her dissolved into shadows. The whispers faded to static. She wasn't at El Capitan anymore. She was back in that studio apartment 3 years ago, staring at an eviction notice with shaking hands. Back in the grocery store, putting food back on the shelves because her card declined. Back in her car at 2 a.m., crying so hard she thought she'd vomit, wondering why she wasn't enough. Why she'd never been enough. Ariana. Park's voice cut through the fog, gentle but urgent. "Look at me. Just me." But she couldn't. The memories crashed over her in waves. Derek's back disappearing through the door, his phone in his hand, her savings in his account. The empty fridge. The third day without eating because pride wouldn't let her beg. Lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if anyone would notice if she just stopped. Smiling at work the next morning. "I'm fine. Just tired." Always fine. Always tired. Never honest. Her mother's voice on the phone. Be strong, baby. You're a survivor. Don't let them see you cry. So she didn't cry. Not properly. Not the way her body needed to. She swallowed the grief, boxed up the trauma, smiled through the fractures. She survived silently because the world had no patience for broken women who needed time to heal. But now, now, the dam finally shattered. A sob tore from Ariana's throat, raw and ugly and years overdue. Her legs gave out, and Park caught her, lowering them both to the theater floor as she crumpled against his chest. The tears came in violent, gasping waves, not delicate or pretty, but desperate. Mourning. The kind of crying that emptied every hidden corner of pain she'd been carrying alone. I tried so hard, she choked out between sobs. I tried to be strong. I tried to move on. I tried to, her voice cracked. Why did he get to walk away like I was nothing? Why did I have to be the one who, sure? Park's arms tightened around her, and when she looked up through her tears, she saw his eyes glistening too. Not with anger. With grief. For her. For the woman he loved who'd suffered in silence for so long. You don't have to be strong tonight, he whispered, his voice breaking. I'll be strong for you. Something in Ariana's chest finally loosened. She buried her face in his shoulder and wept, for the girl who'd gone hungry, for the night she'd felt invisible, for the version of herself who'd believed the lies Derek told her about her worth. She cried for all of it, and Park held her through every second, his hand cradling the back of her head like she was something precious. Jesus Christ, you're being dramatic, Derek's voice cut through the moment like a blade. It was just a slap. Stop making a scene. Just a slap. Ariana felt Park's entire body go rigid beneath her, but she lifted her head first, tears still streaming down her face. She looked at Derek, really looked at him, and for the first time in 3 years, she saw him clearly. He wasn't powerful. He was pathetic. It's never just anything with you, she said quietly. It was never just taking my money. Never just leaving me when I needed you. Never just destroying my life and walking away. Her voice strengthened. You teach people that their pain doesn't matter. That surviving you should be silent. Derek's jaw clenched. You're insane. No. The word came from behind him, small and trembling. His date, the young woman who'd been clinging to his arm, stood frozen in the aisle, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. Her hand shook as she stared at Derek like seeing him for the first time. You told me she was crazy, she whispered. You said she was obsessed with you. That she made everything up. Her voice cracked. Oh my God. You were lying. About all of it. Around them, other women in the theater had gone still. Some had tears in their eyes. Some had their hands pressed to their mouths. Recognition flickered across face after face, not of Ariana specifically, but of their own stories. Their own Derek's. Their own silent survival. Shared pain rippled through the crowd like a current. Park carefully helped Ariana to her feet, keeping one arm around her waist. When he finally turned to face Derek fully, his expression had transformed. Not rage, something colder. Deeper. Heartbreak crystallized into purpose. You have 5 seconds to walk away, Park said quietly. Or I stop being merciful. Derek opened his mouth to respond, but movement near the theater in trance caught everyone's attention. A woman stood at the top of the aisle, late 30s, elegant, her expression carved from recognition and old wounds. She stared at Derek with eyes that had seen too much, survived too much. She took one step forward. Then another. The crowd parted instinctively, sensing something significant about to break open. When she reached them, she didn't look at Park or Ariana first. She looked only at Derek, and her voice, quiet but clear, carried through the entire theater. You ruined my life too. Ariana's breath caught. Around them, more women had started crying, not from sadness now, but from recognition. From finally seeing their pain reflected. From understanding they weren't alone in what they'd survived. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about liberation. And it had only just begun. The video went viral in 47 minutes. Not the slap, though that was captured on a dozen phones. What spread like wildfire was the 30-second clip of Ariana crying in Park's arms, her voice breaking as she said, "Why did he get to walk away like I was nothing?" For once, the internet didn't mock her. For once, a woman wasn't blamed. Within 2 hours, #I believe Ariana was trending worldwide. Not with cruelty or skepticism, but with something Ariana had never experienced before: belief, defense, solidarity. I felt this in my soul. This is every woman who was abandoned and told to get over it. She's crying the tears I never let myself cry. Women around the world watched her pain and saw their own. They cried at their desks, in their cars, in the quiet moments when no one was watching. Because finally, someone's suffering was being taken seriously. Park sat beside Ariana in the theater's private lounge where security had moved them, his hand never leaving hers as she scrolled through the outpouring of support with trembling fingers. The theater had cleared. Police were outside taking statements. But inside this small room, Ariana felt something shift in the universe. She wasn't alone anymore. "There's more," Park said quietly, his phone glowing in his other hand. His expression was grim. "5 women have come forward in the last hour. All with stories about Derek." Ariana's breath caught. 5. And counting. Park turned his screen toward her. The testimonials were devastating in their familiarity. "He borrowed $15,000 for a business opportunity and ghosted me. When I asked for it back, he called me a gold digger. He told me I was too emotional when I cried about my father's death. Said I was exhausting to be around. I apologized to him. I supported him for 2 years while he found himself. The day I lost my job, he left. Said I had nothing to offer anymore. He made me believe I was crazy. That my feelings were wrong. That needing basic respect was asking too much." Each testimony came with shaking voices, terrified eyes, women who'd carried shame for years believing they were the problem. Women who'd been gaslit into silence. Women who'd rebuilt themselves in the dark, alone. This wasn't just Ariana's story anymore. This was an earthquake of voices finally being heard. Tears streamed down Ariana's face as she read each one, but these weren't tears of pain. They were tears of recognition, of validation, of knowing that every night she'd questioned her own sanity, every moment she'd wondered if she was too sensitive or too dramatic, every time she'd swallowed her hurt to make someone else comfortable, it had all been real. Her pain had been real. And now the world believed her. "Ms. Lawson." A police officer appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Hale is requesting to speak with you." Park's jaw tightened immediately. "Absolutely not. I'll do it." Ariana's voice was quiet but firm. She looked at Park, seeing the protective fire in his eyes, and squeezed his hand. "I need to do this." "Then I'm coming with you." "I know." She managed a small, grateful smile. "I wouldn't do it without you." They found Derek in a small office down the hall, flanked by theater security. He looked smaller somehow, the arrogance stripped away, replaced by something that might have been panic. His expensive suit was wrinkled. His hand shook slightly. When Ariana entered, he stood up immediately, words tumbling out in a desperate rush. "Ariana, please, you have to listen to me," his voice cracked. "This is getting out of control. I never meant, I didn't think." He ran his hands through his hair, and for the first time since she'd known him, Derek looked genuinely afraid. "My job is calling. My family is calling. People are sending me death threats. You have to tell them it wasn't." "Wasn't what?" Ariana asked softly. Derek froze. "Wasn't that bad?" she continued, her voice achingly gentle. "Wasn't my fault? Wasn't serious?" She took one step closer, and he actually flinched. "Which lie did you want me to tell, Derek?" "I'm not a monster," he whispered. "I made mistakes, but I'm not. You didn't just leave me." Ariana's voice remained soft, but each word landed like a stone. "You killed the version of me who believed in love. You took a woman who trusted people and taught her that vulnerability was weakness. That needing support was pathetic. that her pain didn't matter. Tears welled in her eyes, not from anger, but from finally speaking the truth she'd carried alone for so long. I had to rebuild her, Ariana continued, her voice breaking. Alone. In the dark. With no one to tell me I wasn't crazy. No one to say I deserved better. I had to become my own rescue because you taught me no one else would come. Derek's face crumpled. Not with remorse, not yet, but with the dawning realization of what he'd actually done. The destruction he'd caused. The lives he'd damaged. Park stepped beside Ariana, and when Derek looked at him, he froze at what he saw there. Not rage. Tears. Park Ji-hoon, Billionaire CEO, one of the most powerful men in Asia, had tears streaming silently down his face. Because he loved a woman who'd had to bleed alone. Because he couldn't go back and protect her from the years she'd suffered. Because all his money and power couldn't erase what Derek had taken from her. I would have given you anything, Park said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. My wealth. My resources. My life. To spare her one moment of what you put her through. He wiped his eyes, composure cracking. But I can't. I can only love what you tried to destroy. And she's more extraordinary than you'll ever comprehend. Derek trembled, finally understanding he wasn't just facing consequences. He was facing the weight of his own actions, reflected in the eyes of people who saw clearly what he'd done. What happens now? Derek whispered. Park looked at Ariana, letting her choose. She took a breath, thinking of all the women who'd come forward. All the women still silent. All the women who needed to see that speaking truth had power. Justice isn't destroying you, Ariana said finally. Justice is forcing you to finally live with what you did. Every woman you hurt. Every lie you told. Every life you damaged. You don't get to forget anymore. She turned to leave, Park's hand finding hers immediately. That's it. Derek called after them, confusion and relief mixing in his voice. You're just leaving. Ariana paused at the door, looking back one last time. No, Derek. You don't understand. Her smile was sad but certain. I'm not leaving. I already left. 3 years ago, when I decided I deserved better than you. This. She gestured to the chaos beyond the door, the viral videos, the testimonials, the reckoning. This is just the world catching up to what I already knew. You were never the prize I lost. I was the woman who survived you. And with that, Ariana walked away from Derek Hale for the final time. This time, she wasn't running. She was free. Ariana woke to sunlight streaming through the penthouse windows and the smell of coffee brewing in the kitchen. For the first time in 3 years, she'd slept through the entire night. No nightmares. No jolting awake at 3 a.m. with her heart racing. No phantom anxiety that somehow everything good would be stolen away again. Just peace. She found Park on the balcony, 2 mugs in his hands, watching the Los Angeles sunrise paint the city gold and pink. He turned when he heard her, and the soft smile that crossed his face made her heart ache in the best way. Merry Christmas, he said quietly, handing her a mug. Ariana took it, wrapping her hands around the warmth. Merry Christmas. They stood in comfortable silence, the city waking up below them. Somewhere out there, the video was still spreading. Women were still coming forward. The world was still talking about what happened at El Capitan Theater. But here, in this moment, it was just them. I've been thinking, Ariana said finally, her voice soft, about what I want to do next. Park turned to her, listening. I want to start a foundation. The words came easier than she expected, like they'd been waiting inside her all along. For women who've been financially abused. Who've been gaslit. Who've been abandoned and told their pain doesn't matter. Her throat tightened. I want to create what I desperately needed 3 years ago and couldn't find. Park's eyes glistened. Tell me. So she did. The vision poured out of her, emergency housing for women escaping financial abuse, mental health support specifically designed for trauma survivors, legal assistance for those fighting to reclaim what was stolen, safety resources, job training, childcare support. Everything she'd wished existed when she was sleeping on couches and hiding her tears. "I want to call it second beginning," Ariana whispered. "Because that's what saved me. The belief that I could start again." Park set down his mug and pulled her into his arms, his face buried in her hair. His shoulders shook slightly, and Ariana realized he was crying. "You're turning your pain into purpose," he said thickly. "You're becoming the rescue you needed." They stood like that for a long moment, holding each other as the sun climbed higher. Later that morning, after breakfast and phone calls with lawyers about the foundation, Ariana found herself back on the balcony, staring out at the city. Park joined her, sensing the shift in her mood. "What are you thinking?" he asked gently. Ariana turned to him, tears suddenly streaming down her face, but not sad tears. Grateful tears. Overwhelmed tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For believing me. For protecting me. For—" "Stop." Park cupped her face in his hands, his own eyes wet. "You don't thank me for loving you, Ariana. That's not something I did for credit or recognition." His voice cracked. "And I didn't save you. Don't ever think that." "But I stood beside you," he said firmly, tears spilling over. "I held your hand. I offered resources. But you saved yourself. You did the work. You chose to survive when it would have been easier to break. You rebuilt when you had every reason to quit." His thumbs wiped away her tears. "I just had the privilege of witnessing your strength." Ariana sobbed, pulling him close, and they held each other as the weight of everything, the trauma, the survival, the love, the healing, finally settled into something like acceptance. She had survived. She had rebuilt. She was enough. She had always been enough. Across the city, in a modest apartment that suddenly felt too empty, Derek Hale sat on his couch staring at his phone. The calls had stopped coming. The angry ones, the supportive ones, the confused ones, all gone now. His girlfriend had left. His job had encouraged him to resign. His social media was a wasteland of consequences. But it wasn't the external destruction that broke him. It was the testimonials. He'd read every single one. Every woman who came forward. Every story that mirrored what he'd done to Ariana. Every life he'd damaged without even realizing, or worse, without caring. He made me believe I was worthless. He took everything and left me with nothing. I thought I was crazy until I saw Ariana's story and realized it was him all along. Derek set down his phone with shaking hands. He wasn't the victim here. He never had been. He was the villain in a dozen different women's stories. The cautionary tale. The lesson learned. The pain that taught them to value themselves. And the worst part. He genuinely believed his own lies. Believed they were too sensitive. Too dramatic. Too demanding. He'd rewritten every relationship in his head until he was always the reasonable one, always the victim of their instability. But the truth, the devastating, unavoidable truth, was that he'd been the unstable one all along. The taker. The manipulator. The man who destroyed and walked away without looking back. No villain glory awaited him. No redemption arc. No moment where people would understand his side. Just consequences. Just the weight of what he'd done, finally pressing down on him with nowhere left to run. He was alone. Not because the world was cruel, but because he'd earned this loneliness, one broken woman at a time. That evening, Ariana and Park returned to El Capitan Theater. Not for drama. Not for confrontation. Simply because Ariana had asked to go back. "I need to reclaim it," she'd explained. "That place. That night. I need it to mean something different now." So they stood in the lobby where it had all happened, Christmas lights twinkling overhead just like before. But everything felt different now. The fear was gone. The shame was gone. In their place. Peace. Park squeezed her hand. "How do you feel?" Ariana looked around, at the families laughing, at the couples holding hands, at the beautiful ordinary chaos of people living their lives. She thought about the foundation she would build. The women she would help. The future she was creating from the ashes of her past. I feel. She paused, searching for the right word. Then smiled. Free. Park pulled her close, kissing her forehead. You are. You always were. You just needed to believe it. As they walked out of the theater hand in hand, Ariana looked back one last time at the spot where Derek had tried to make her small again. He'd thought she was still the girl he broke, desperate, powerless, easy to crush. He never imagined she'd become the woman who lived. Not just survived. Not just existed. Lived. Fully. Freely. Powerfully. And as the Christmas lights sparkled behind them and the city spread out before them full of possibility, Ariana finally understood the most important truth of all. She hadn't needed someone to save her. She'd needed to learn she was worth saving. And once she believed that, truly believed it, nothing could break her again. Not even the ghosts of who she used to be. Because the woman walking away from that theater wasn't running anymore. She was dancing into the rest of her life. And she was finally, beautifully, home. Thank you for sharing this story with me. As the Christmas lights twinkle, remember, your subscription isn't just a click. It's a bell that rings out, telling me to keep writing for you. Don't let the magic end here. Subscribe, and let's journey into the new year together.